It was really not much of a choice. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and this was a great university, and I enjoyed the football and academics, and yeah, yeah. When I was in high school. The counselor came up to me in the hall one day and said, "Laporte, you don't cause me any trouble. I'd like to do something for you." So he said, "I'll send you down to the Detroit Public Schools testing center. They'll give you a battery of tests, and that'll tell you what you should be." And ended up I should be a history teacher or a lawyer. And I said, "Well, I guess I'll try to be a lawyer." I was a sophomore manager on the 1948 National Championship football team.
Oh, wow.
And my most prized possession is the 40-yard line marker from the horseshoe, which I liberated and brought back with me. In fact, this was before OSHA and things like that. The manager and two of the junior managers would go with the team. And the other two juniors and the 8 sophomores, if we got to the venue, they'd get us in and, you know, do things like that. So another guy and I, Wally Shapiro, who ended up being a bankruptcy referee or judge, had an opportunity to go down to Columbus with the equipment truck with Hank Hatch. We rode in the back of the truck with all of the gear, which I don't think OSHA would allow today. But that was fun. In fact, we had, in those days, we had a JV team and a lightweight team, 150s.
Wow.
If you couldn't weigh more than 155 on game day, you were supposed to weigh 150 or less. And we beat them 3 times. That was great. I think the most fun thing that I ever did was when we were seniors in law school. A buddy of mine, you couldn't have cars a lot of times, but he was able to have a car, and we had a thing called the Barrister's Ball, which was like the senior prom for the law school. And we picked up our dates. I was married. I don't know if Don was married or was still his girlfriend, but I got him to drive through the engine arch, around the library, and out through the president's driveway. And nobody caught us.
Wow.
I was a character, you know, as you can tell. That and coming back from the Snow Bowl. My wife had gone to Ohio Wesleyan, and one of my fraternity brothers had a girlfriend at Ohio Wesleyan. So we drove down to the game in 1950. He had a car. We picked up Betty in Delaware, went to the game, and then it was snow. I don't know if you're familiar with that game, but it was a famous game. It's the record number of punts. We won 9-3. Ohio State got a field goal early. We blocked the punt for a safety, and it was 9-2, and 3-2, and then we blocked the second punt for a touchdown, and it was 9-3, and that sent us to the Rose Bowl. But the snow was horrendous, and so my fraternity brother Slug drove his car into a snowbank and by the railroad station. We called my folks who lived in Detroit to pick us up. Slug was from Maryland, and the 4 of us were on a train. Then Delaware is like the first or second stop outside of Columbus. Okay. And Betty got off. This little old guy says, "Is that seat open?" And we said, "Yeah." And we started talking to him, and it turned out he had been the quarterback on the 19-2 Ohio State team that Yost beat 86-0, and he told us about that. But he would have been in like in his 70s, because this was 1950. So, it turns me off when people get away with what they get away with, particularly, well, one of my fraternity brothers, actually I had the kid when I was a counselor at the Boy Scout camp. He was one of my campers, and then he came to Ann Arbor, and I got him in the fraternity, and he was a track man, and he was a very smart investment person. He ended up in Hawaii as chief investment officer for one of the big banks in Hawaii, and his business school professor would have him come up to campus and give a lecture, and he was there during when some students went through and with axes and broke down doors of the business school, and I kind of turned him and I off on the university, so I have not been supportive much of the academic, although it may seem ridiculous, but I've been active in the Detroit Club Scholarship Program since 1954. Mm-hmm. And I'm active in the Detroit Club in the scholarship program. I went on the board of the Scholarship Corporation in '67, became president in '82, and we give a lot of scholarships to worthy kids. You know, so I'm not, it's just, I don't see all of this permissiveness as being appropriate.
Okay.
I'm a conservative, contrarian curmudgeon. I've just enjoyed my scholarship work over the years, going into the Detroit schools. We used to have the Regents alumni, and then there was the John Scene, and then just our club work. I didn't come from a family with a lot of money. And my high school gave us a $75, which would have covered tuition.
Wow.
Gave me a scholarship, and they raised the tuition to $125, and we really had to scrape around to find the other $50. And so I said, you know, I got my start with a scholarship, not from the university, from an outside source. So that was the area that I wanted to give back in. Learn something, learn how to think and learn how to write and express yourself. You can be the smartest person in the world if you can't express yourself.